Don't forget to like and subscribe. I think since I had another video taken down, they put a strike on my account. And it seems like every time they do that, it's almost like my videos take a hit in views, and they're just not displayed like they normally are. And let me just be frankly clear. It's not like I get hundreds of views. I don't. But I get about 100 views. Takes a couple days to a couple weeks, but usually it's close. It usually rounds out about between 80 and 100 views. So, it kind of is what it is. Like I said, I'm doing this channel because I feel like what I have to say has some value. Some may find it useful, most may not. I don't know. But it's just something to do, basically. And I do take what I say very seriously, and hopefully I can influence other people to think outside of the box. With that being said, I see a lot of things going on, especially on my personal Facebook page, and people talk about it a lot, especially black folks. And I'm kind of over it. I'm tired of white supremacy being talked about all the time, as if like every single day you are oppressed to the point that you're scared to walk out your house because some white people in sheets are going to be there to string you up from a tree. Now, I get it. There's a lot of things that go wrong and purposely done, and things that are set up. I get all that. I don't personally call it white supremacy. I just call it corruption. Corruption in the fact of there's profit in it. And wherever there's profit, you are going to see corruption. For example, hip-hop in the 90s, which is called the golden era, was not as profitable as rap and hip-hop today. Hip-hop today, the rappers today are making considerably more money per show, per whatever they're doing, their brand, now than they were in the 90s. Now, back then, the reason why music was so good was because you had to be the cream of the crop in order to get your stuff heard. So you had to sit down and really come up with something witty and that hadn't been done and sounded very unique, because that was the tone and the time of the day. Now, today, you could just come out and mumble, and all of a sudden you're an instant millionaire. You make all this money from just being a dumbass. Now, with that being said, are there institutions that are set up to oppress people of color? Yes, I'm not going to sit here and say that there's not. What I'm saying is, stop putting people over you and calling them supreme just because of their so-called racial identification. Because that's really all it is. I don't know not one white person. Nobody is white, nobody's black. My skin tone is brown, dark brown. Theirs is like a reddish pinkish. Nobody's white, nobody's black. But black people act as if like they wouldn't do the same damn thing if they were in the position. See, what it's called tribalism. It's called, me and my friends are going to we're going to start this, and only certain people can be a part of it. But they want to call that white supremacy because some black folks, aren't allowed to be in certain circles because it's a group thing. And I don't understand, if we could go to high school, be in junior high, high school, when you go to there's no such of a segregated place other than more than a school bus or a city bus, a cafeteria. Because why is that? Because people tend to gravitate towards that which is familiar to them. So you're going to have black students with black students, sit with black students. You're going to have Asian students sit with Asian students. You're going to have Hispanic students sit with Hispanic students. Really, the only diverse group of people were pretty much the nerds. The nerd, the black nerd, the white nerd, the Hispanic nerd, the biracial nerd. Like, those are really the only group that's really, you can say there's some diversity in them. But this whole notion of calling everything white supremacy because Bill Cosby tried to buy NBC and went to jail on some alleged rape allegations. It's a corrupt system that allowed it to happen. It's not white supremacy. If you want to say white people are corrupt, okay, I won't argue with that. The systems that they set up are corrupt. But to say that these people are somehow supreme, when they get burnt up by the sun, how can they be more supreme than someone who gets vitamin D from the sun if you sit there in the sun and absorb it? So I don't understand the terminology that black folks use. It's like when black people be trying to say, oh, you ignorant. No, you may just not like what I said. It doesn't make me ignorant. Because if you're not using it in the sense of you're saying something that you don't know what you're talking about, then I'm not ignorant. I'm offending you, but I'm not ignorant. If I say 5 plus 5 is 10, and that offends you, and you talk about you're just acting ignorant. No, 5 plus 5 is 10. You just may be offended at the fact that I said it's 10 because you wanted to equal something else. But that doesn't equate to me being ignorant. It equates to you being ignorant because you don't know that 5 plus 5 is 10. But at the end of the day, when is this shit gonna ever stop? Like, I get it. Life is hard, especially as a black man. Trust me, I get it. Life is difficult. Life is very difficult. But my grandmother, I would say this and I'm going to get off this video. I'm going to enjoy the rest of my little bit of lunch time I got left. My grandmother, when I was, I think, in first grade, she told me, now my grandmother grew up in South Carolina, okay, in Greeleyville, South Carolina. She told me some stories about situations that happened with the Klan and situations that happened between her father, which is my great-grandfather, which is who I'm named after, or at least my first name, and they were sharecroppers. And she, this one story, she told me that some of the white farmers wanted him to sell his prize mule. Now, he didn't want to sell it to him because how then would he be able to make a living? So they killed it and put it on, like, I won't say front yard, but like in front of their house. They killed it, slaughtered it. Now, is that white supremacy, or is that some type of form of corruption? That you would take another man's ability away to make a living? That's corrupt. That has nothing to do with someone being supreme. But what my grandmother told me was, don't ever let nobody make you feel like you're less than they are. She told me, you're just as good as anybody else. It don't matter what their color is. She did say, because you are black, you're going to have to work 10 times harder to get a loaf of bread. That was always her saying. Everything ended up with getting a loaf of bread. But that's what she told me. So she prepared me for this fight. And if we start preparing our children for this fight, we can overcome it and eventually win it. But we're so busy trying to integrate and be amongst those who don't want us amongst them. Just go to your job, do your job, and go the fuck home. Stop trying to be where you're not wanted. And that's what I do. I think maybe once or twice I've gone out with a coworker after work. Sometimes I'll go with a coworker, we get some lunch or something. But to just hang out outside of work, it was only one brother that I worked with, and that was because we both was black dudes, and so we would go hang out on the weekends or something like that. But that's the only job I've ever had where I hung out with a coworker outside of work. So, and he was, like I said, he was a black dude. So, stop trying to fit in where you don't get in. And stop trying to act like if the tables turn and black people were in charge of everything, you telling me we wouldn't do the same shit and try to get away with it? It's called corruption. It wouldn't be black supremacy. It wouldn't be white supremacy. It's called corruption. When you have the ability to have power over someone, or you give off the alleged perception that you have power over someone, you can then do as many corrupt things as you want, because they will always see themselves as a victim, not as someone who can stand up and fight against the corruption, but someone who will sit there and always just fall back and say, see, us white folks can't get ahead because these black folks are running everything. Is black supremacy. I don't know, just my thoughts.